Hello, my name is James Conrad, and it's my pleasure to be your instructor for this 70-647 Enterprise Administrator exam that gives you credit towards the Microsoft IT Professional Enterprise Administrator certification from Microsoft. And wow, isn't that a whole lot of words? Microsoft seems to make long words out of everything that they do. But we'll try to decipher some of this stuff as we go along here. There's a number of topics we'll be discussing here in this series, and I have to say, this series includes quite a few technologies compared to a lot of the other exams. So we're going to really have a compact series here that's going to cover a lot of ground. Well, first thing we're going to be taking a look at, though, since it's an Active Directory based exam, is that we're going to design an Active Directory forest and domain. We're going to take a look at some considerations there to identify what would work best for given situations, whether you have a single domain, multiple domains, forests, how many forests you have, and so forth. We'll also take a look at the domain functional levels. Overall, the higher the level of domain functionality you have, the more feature set that you're going to be able to get out of Windows. And so we'll take a look at some of those items. Also, we're going to take a look at something called a user principal name, which is another way of identifying the users that might try to log on. And we'll take a look also here at AD Prep. And this is an important tool to make sure that the domain is prepared to receive any upgrades to Windows Server 2008. We'll also take a look at trust relationships. This is a growing issue in many organizations because there might be mergers or partnerships with other companies, and you have to identify whether or not you want to trust that other company. Or if you do trust them, how much trust you're going to allow them to have access to your resources and vice versa. You can also configure trust within your own organization to make things perform better if you like. Also, we'll take a look here at Active Directory's physical topology. The important things to take a look at there would be things such as your site structure, your replication, your bridgeheads, all these different kinds of things, and you need to make sure that you have that well planned out so that you don't run into any replication problems or latency in the accuracy of your Active Directory data. Other topics we address with the 70-647 exam relate to the global catalog. This is a pretty critical role, especially in large enterprises with multiple domains, because you want to make sure that you can always access important Active Directory objects, and that's what that's going to help you do. There's also something called Universal Group Membership Caching. This is going to help in the case you can't access a global catalog or can't install a global catalog somewhere. We'll see what that'll do for you. And then there's printer location, such as printer location tracking. And this is very useful because, boy, one of the difficult things about being an administrator is to make sure everybody has their printers and that they can find them and install them as necessary. We'll also take a look at a new feature with Windows Server 2008 called Read-Only Domain Controllers. This is an awesome way of working with branch locations that might not have the physical security that you would really desire, so it's a good way to lock them down a little bit, but to still give your users access to their needs. And then we'll also take a look here at the Active Directory administrative model. Now, this relates a lot to how you run the IT department, so to speak, with the delegation that you assign to different users, the group strategies that you have, the way the organization is set up, you auditing different things, all kinds of things going on there, as well as we'll take a look at the enterprise level group policy strategy. And group policy is probably the single most powerful thing that you have at your disposal to control everything that users can see and do within their Windows environment. So we'll take a good look at that. Also, we'll take a look at how to upgrade, migrate domains, as well as the interoperability with other domains and migrating objects over into an existing domain and so forth. We'll also take a look at IP addressing. Now, this is kind of a fundamental skill that most administrators need to do, but we'll also take a look at some new features with the new IP version 6, which is fully supported, of course, within Windows Server 2008. And as we continue talking about 70-647, one of the key aspects of any Windows Active Directory environment is going to be DNS. If DNS is broken, not only can you probably not access things like the internet, but you probably also cannot access accurately, at least, Active Directory domain controllers because they're integral to DNS. So that's a very important thing that we'll be taking a look at. We'll also be taking a look at some of the new features of Windows Server 2008, such as global name zones, and a few other things involved there. And then we'll take a look also at network access features. We're going to take a look at things such as network access policies, remote access strategies, making sure that you have the correct security in place when you want to make a remote connection. All those sorts of things, of course, are very important, as is the network access protection feature that's also new to Windows Server 2008. With terminal services, we're going to give the users the ability to connect to a desktop desktop without you having to install all of their software and environment on each local computer. You do it from one central location, very, very slick with terminal services. We'll talk about application delivery as well, because that's one of the most difficult things for an administrator, is to make sure that the user's software is actually working on every computer in the environment. Well, there's a few different tricks that we can use to get around having to do some of those things, and again, we can kind of centralize their applications. And then we'll take a look at business continuity as well. For this, we need to make sure that everything stays running. That is so critical in today's business environment. We usually want what we call 5 nines. That means the systems are up 99.999% of the time. And so that's probably less than 5 minutes of downtime per year. So in order to do that, we can use things such as clustering. We can also use network load balancing, a lot of other things to make sure that you keep your network reliable and your operating systems reliable. And then we'll also take a look at software updates. Man, there's so many security problems and inconsistencies right now with operating systems that we need to bring them back into line with software updates to improve security and stability. Microsoft has a pretty ingenious solution for keeping all of that stuff up to date, and once you get used to it, it's actually pretty easy to use. So I think you'll like the way you can keep your systems updated. And then continuing on, we'll also talk here about compliance management. A key thing about compliance management is to making sure that your servers and clients are up to date with whatever the security standard is or the baseline is for your organization. We also talk about virtualization strategy, which is a great way to deliver otherwise incompatible applications, and it's also a great way to increase your server density, which hopefully will save you both administrative work and money. We'll also take a look at data management and access. After all, if users can access the data, there's not much use for the servers. So we'll take a look at how to make that as available as possible. Also take a look at things such as data collaboration and making sure that data is available in every site in a large distributed organization. And then finally, we'll talk quite a lot about PKI. And there's several videos on the PKI series. And the reason for that is because it's such a big topic in and of itself. And if you don't understand the whole scope of it, then a lot of the details are very difficult to understand on their own. So, well, I hope this is going to be really good series for you. I hope that you enjoy the recordings that I've made for you. What we call these nuggets, not videos. We call them nuggets in CBT Nuggets land. And with that, let's go ahead and take a look at the first video. And